Hi, everyone, and welcome to There's No Such Thing as Normal, a podcast about neurodiversity, disability, and mental health. I'm Lou, your host, and I'm neurodivergent myself, and I'm also completely blind. So, in this episode, I'm going to be answering the question: do blind people have better senses than sighted people? It's a question that I get asked a lot, and it doesn't matter who I meet or what we're talking about, they'll always say, "Oh my goodness, you're blind. Your hearing must be amazing." Or, "Oh, you're blind. You must have amazing sense of smell or sense of touch." Or, people think that being blind means that all my other senses are somehow superhuman. But the answer isn't quite as it seems. The reality is quite different. Now, the truth is that my actual senses aren't better in a sense of my hearing ability isn't somehow superhuman. If I had a hearing test, my hearing's good, so it would be in a good range, but it wouldn't be off the chart. They wouldn't be like, "Oh my God, I've never seen anyone with hearing like yours." It's not like I'm off the chart and somehow special in that sense, because I'm really not. My senses are very much the same. It's how I use them. That is what the difference is between a blind person and a sighted person. How I use my other senses is completely different to how sighted people use their senses. So for a sighted person, the sense of sight is the main sense, and it's the one that is used the most. Sight is relied upon for everything, getting around, looking around the environment. Doing absolutely everything requires sight. But when you're blind and you don't have that vision, you have to use your other senses in ways that sighted people couldn't imagine. So if I'm in a place, say I'm in a restaurant, I wouldn't be able to look around the walls. I wouldn't be able to, look at all the decorations or whatever. But I would be listening, so I would know that there were people around me. They were at tables. I would hear the sounds of, I don't know, like the cutlery or whatever. I'd hear people moving. So I'm using my hearing to get information about the environment that a sighted person would get through their vision. If I'm walking around a supermarket, I will be able to smell. I'll say, "Oh, we're on the bread aisle now. Oh, we're on the washing powder aisle. We're on the toiletries aisle." I can smell where I am because my brain needs information about the environment. I need information, just to feel safe. And as humans, we need to know what's going on around us. I don't have the sight, so my brain is simply tuning into those other senses at a much higher level. So actually, for sighted people, I imagine, would probably miss out on more auditory information, because they're more focused on the visuals, and I would pick up on things that they wouldn't notice. It's all about the brain and how the brain uses the information. The information comes in, but then the brain obviously channels it into however it wants to use it. And for me, sound is extremely important. My whole world revolves around being able to hear. I hear everything all the time, and it's absolutely vital. So yeah, I honestly think, though, that is the answer. It's not that my senses are better. It's really about how I use them. And, even how I carry out daily activities. I'll give you an example. If I'm making a squash, I'm going to have to pour the squash into the cup, and then I'm going to have to fill it up with water. But how would I make a cup of squash if I can't see how much squash is in the cup? What I would do is I would listen to it. So I would hold the bottle of squash and I would tip it into the glass, and I would, using my hearing, hear how much squash has gone in. And, again, if I'm filling up the cup with water, I can hear the pitch change as the water pours in, because as the water goes in, I can hear it filling up. So that's just a little example of how I'd use my senses in a way. A sighted person would just look at the cup. How full is it? I use my hearing to figure out how full the cup is. Anyway, I could go on all day and I could give you loads of examples, but I think I've explained it well enough, and I just hope you find it interesting. And I do think it's really important that people understand that it's not about having better senses. It's about having a brain that's using the senses in a different way, and the brain is going to use them how it needs to in order for me to carry out activities and understand the environment. But anyway, thank you so much for listening if you've got this far, and I will be back very soon with another episode. Bye.